drinkies, I cleaned up a little bit, and now we're gonna read The Lord of the Rings. The Fellowship of the Ring. So, when we last left off, we were on like page 53, I want to say. Um, Bilbo Baggins had just announced his grand party. We just got through his grand party, and he pulled his great disappearing act. Please do tell your friends. I'm hoping I can get associate before the end of the year. It'd be very nice because I want to give you guys all emotes. But regardless, makes no difference. Oh, Sag, we're having some lag issues. I'm sorry, Mousy. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Well, there's some good news though, alright? Welcome in everyone. If you were just coming in, if you just got the notice, my name's Ruin. I'm the Archsage of Arcanum Exodius, our humble little library that is our library away from home. I think you have plenty, Mousy. You're a really cool guy. And now, what we specialize in is fantasy and ASMR, and tonight we're going to combine those together by reading Lord of the Rings. So wherever you're watching this, be you watching it live or if you're watching on YouTube, because I do upload all the VODs, unedited of course. I sadly don't have the time to edit them. But I hope you enjoy this. We left off on page 52, 53, with Bilbo Baggins having thrown his grand party, inviting all of the Baggins and the Chubbs. Oh my goodness, Tolkien. Naming a family the Chubbs. But him pulling his grand disappearing act and naming his successor, Frodo. Okay. So now, we're going to read the next 50 to 100 pages. Basically, it is 10 o'clock my time. So at 11 o'clock my time, we will end stream. And however far we get is how far we get. And then we'll head on right out. I hope you enjoy. I will be paying attention to chat, but I'm mostly going to be focused on reading. He stepped down and vanished. There was a blinding flash of light, and the guests all blinked. When they opened their eyes, Bilbo was nowhere to be seen. 144 flabbergasted hobbits sat back speechless. Old Odo Proudfoot removed his feet from the table and stamped. Then there was a dead silence until suddenly, after several deep breaths, every Baggins boffin took Brandybuck, Grub, Chubb, Burrows, Bolger, Bracegirdle, Brockhouse, Goodbody, Hornblower, and Proudfoot began to talk at once. It was generally agreed that the joke was in very bad taste. The more food and drink were needed to cure the guest of shock and annoyance. "He's mad. I always said so," was probably the most popular comment. That sounds a little loud in my ears. I don't want it to drown out my voice. It was generally agreed that the joke was in very bad taste. "He's mad. I always said so," was probably the most popular comment. Even the Tooks, with a few exceptions, thought Bilbo's behavior was absurd. For the moment, most of them took it for granted that his disappearance was nothing more than a ridiculous prank. But old Rory Brandybuck was not so sure. Neither age nor enormous diner had clouded his wits, and he said to his daughter-in-law, Esmeralda, "There's something fishy in this. My dear, I believe that Mad Baggins is off again. Silly old fool. But why worry? He hasn't taken the victuals with him." He called loudly to Frodo to send the wine round again. Frodo was the only one present who had said nothing. For some time he had sat silent beside Bilbo's empty chair and ignored all remarks and questions. He had enjoyed the joke, of course, even though he had been in the know. He had difficulty in keeping from the laughter at the indignant surprise of the guests, but at the same time, he felt deeply troubled. He realized suddenly that he loved the old hobbit dearly. Most of the guests went on eating and drinking and discussing Bilbo Baggins' oddities, past and present. But the Saxville Bagginses had already departed in wrath. Frodo did not want to have any more to do with the party. He gave orders for more wine to be served, then he got up and drained his own glass silently to the health of Bilbo, and slipped out of the pavilion. As for Bilbo Baggins, even while he was making his speech, he had been fingering the gold ring in his pocket. His magic ring that he had kept secret for so many years. As he stepped down, he slipped it on his finger, and he was never seen by any hobbit in Hobbit Town again. He walked briskly back to his hole, and stood for a moment listening with a smile to the din in the pavilion and to the sounds of merrymaking in other parts of the field. Then he went in. He took off his party clothes, folded up and wrapped in the tissue paper his embroidered silk waistcoat, and put it away. Then he put on quickly some old untidy garments, and fastened round his waist a worn leather belt. On it he hung a short sword and a battered black leather scabbard. From a locked drawer, smelling of mothballs, he took out an old cloak and hood. They had been locked up as if they were very precious, but they were so patched and weather-stained that their original color could hardly be guessed. It might have been dark green. They were rather too large for him. He went into his study, and from a large strong box took out a bundle wrapped in old clothes, and a leather-bound manuscript, and also a large bulky envelope. The book and bundle he stuffed into the top of a heavy bag that was standing there, already nearly full. Into the envelope he slipped his golden ring and its fine chain, and then sealed it and addressed it to Frodo. At first he put it on the mantelpiece, but suddenly he removed it and stuck it in his pocket. At that moment the door opened, and Gandalf came quickly in. "Hello," said Bilbo. "I wondered if you would turn up." "I'm glad to find you visible," replied the wizard, sitting down in a chair. "I wanted to catch you and have a few words. I suppose you feel that everything has gone off splendidly and according to plan?" "Yes, I do," said Bilbo. "Though that flash was surprising. It quite startled me, let alone the others. A little addition of your own, I suppose?" "It was. You have wisely kept that ring secret all these years. It seemed to me necessary to give your guests something else that would seem to explain your sudden vanishment." "And it would spoil my joke." "You are an intervening old busybody," laughed Bilbo, "but I expect you know best." "As usual." "I do, when I know anything. But I don't feel too sure about this whole affair. It has now come to the final point. You have had your joke, and alarmed or offended most of your relations, and given the whole Shire something to talk about for 9 days, or 99, more likely. Are you going any further?" "Yes, I am. I feel I need a holiday, a very long holiday, as I have told you before, probably a permanent holiday. I don't expect I shall return. In fact, I don't mean to, and I have made all the arrangements. I am old, Gandalf. I don't look it, but I begin to feel it in the heart of my hearts. Well preserved, indeed. Why, I feel all thin, sort of stretched, if you know what I mean. Like butter that has been scraped over too much bread. That can't be right. I need a change or something. Gandalf looked curiously and closely at him. No, it does not seem right. No, after all, I believe your plan is probably the best. Well, I've made up my mind, anyway. I want to see the mountains again, Gandalf. Mountains! And then find somewhere I can rest. In peace and quiet, without a lot of relatives prying around, and a string of confounded visitors hanging on the bell. I might find somewhere where I can finish my book. I've thought of a nice ending for it. And he lived happily ever after to the end of his days. Oh, Gandalf laughed. I hope he will, but nobody will read the book, however it ends. Oh, they may in years to come. Frodo has already read, as far as it's gone. You keep an eye on Frodo, won't you? Yes, I will. 2 eyes, as often as I can spare them. He would come with me, of course, if I asked him. In fact, he offered to once, just before the party, but he does not really want to, yet. I want to see the wild country again before I die, and the mountains, but he is still in love with the Shire, with the woods and fields and little rivers. He ought to be comfortable here. I'm leaving everything to him, of course, except a few oddments. I hope he will be happy when he gets used to being on his own. It's time he was his own master now. Everything? Said Gandalf. The ring as well? You agreed to that, you remember? Well, yes, I suppose, stammered Bilbo. Where is it? In an envelope, if you must know, said Bilbo impatiently. There, on the mantelpiece. Well, no, here, in my pocket. He hesitated. Isn't that odd? He said softly to himself. Yes, after all, why not? Why shouldn't it stay there? Gandalf looked again very hard at Bilbo, and there was a gleam in his eyes. I think, Bilbo, he said quietly, you should leave it behind. Don't you want to? Well, yes, and no. Now it comes to it. I don't like parting with it at all. I may say, I don't really see why I should. Why do you want me to? He asked, and a curious change came over his voice. It was sharp with suspicion and annoyance. You were always badgering me about my ring, but you've never bothered me about the other things I got on my journey. No, but I had to badger you. I wanted the truth. It was important. Magic rings are, well, magical, and they are rare and curious. I was professionally interested in your ring, you may say, and I still am. I should like to know where it is, and if you go wandering again. I also think you have had it quite long enough. You won't need it anymore, Bilbo, unless I am quite mistaken. Bilbo flushed, and there was an angry light in his eyes. His kindly face grew hard. Why not? He cried. And what business is it of yours, anyway, to know what I do with my own things? It is my own. I found it. It came to me. I'm gonna get a sippy here. And thank you for the compliment, Mousy. I'm very proud of my ASMR voice. And I've been very lucky. Very, very, very lucky. Alrighties, let's get a little bit more silly. Actually, I gotta do something lightning fast, but shouldn't affect too much. Okay. Apologies. Now let's get back to reading. Oh, that feels better. See, this is what I like about doing these reading streams. I can lay down. Now, granted, I'm not paying attention to chat right now. That's why I put that message up, but... Anyways. Yes, yes, said Gandalf. But there is no need to get angry. If I am, it is your fault, said Bilbo. It is mine, I tell you. My own, my precious, yes, my precious. The wizard's face remained grave and attentive, and only a flicker in his deep eyes showed that he was startled and indeed alarmed. It has been called that before, he said, but not by you. But I say it now, and why not? Even if Gollum said the same once, it's not his now, but mine, and I shall keep it, I say. Gandalf stood up. He spoke sternly. You will be a fool if you do, Bilbo. You make that clear with every word you say. It's got far too much hold on you. Let it go, and then you can go yourself and be free. I'll do as I choose and go as I please, said Bilbo obstinately. Now, my dear hobbit, said Gandalf. All your long life we have been friends, and you owe me something. Come, do as you promised. Give it up. Well, if you want my ring yourself, say so, but you won't get it. I won't give my precious away, I tell you. His hand strayed to the hilt of his small sword. Gandalf's eyes flashed. It will be my turn to get angry soon. If you say that again, I shall. Then you will see Gandalf the Grey uncloaked. He took a step towards the hobbit, and he seemed to grow taller and menacing. His shadow filled the little room. Bilbo hacked away to the wall, breathing hard, his hand clutching at his pocket. They stood for a while facing one another, and the air of the room tingled. Gandalf's eyes remained bent on the hobbit. Slowly his hands relaxed, and he began to tremble. I don't know what has come over you, Gandalf, he said. You have never been like this before. What is it all about? It is mine, isn't it? I found it, and Gollum would have killed me if I hadn't kept it. I'm not a thief, whatever he said. I have never called you one, Gandalf answered, and I am not one either. I am not trying to rob you, but to help you. I wish you would trust me, as you used to. He turned away and the shadow passed. He seemed to dwindle again to an old gray man, bent and troubled. Bilbo drew his hand over his eyes. I am sorry, he said, but I felt so queer. It would be a relief in a way not to be bothered with it anymore. It's been growing on my mind lately. Sometimes I felt it was like an eye looking at me, and I always wanted to put it on and disappear, don't you know? Or wondering if it is safe and pulling out to make sure. I tried locking it up, but I found I couldn't rest without it in my pocket. I don't know why, and I don't seem to be able to make up my mind. Then trust mind, said Gandalf. It is quite made up. Go away and leave it behind. Stop processing it. Give it to Frodo, and I will look after him. Bilbo stood up for a moment, tense and undecided. Presently he laughed. "All right," he said with an effort. "I will." Then he shrugged his shoulders and smiled rather ruefully. After all, that's what this party's business was all about, really. So give away lots of birthday presents, and somehow make it easier to give away at the same time. His silence made it easier in the end, but it would be a pity to waste all my preparations. It would quite spoil the joke. Indeed, it would take away the only point I ever saw in the affair, said Gandalf. Very well, said Bilbo. It goes to Frodo with all the rest. He drew a deep breath. And now I really must be starting, or somebody else will catch me. I have said goodbye, and I couldn't bear to do it all over again. 1 second. There we go. He picked up his bag and moved to the door. You have still got the ring in your pocket, said the wizard. Well, so I have, cried Bilbo. And my will and all my other documents too. You had better take it and deliver it for me. That will be the safest. No, don't give the ring to me, said Gandalf. Put it on the mantelpiece. It'll be safe enough till Frodo comes. I shall wait for him. Bilbo took out the envelope, but just as he was about to set it up by the clock, his hand jerked back and the packet fell on the floor. Before he could pick it up, the wizard stooped and seized it and set it in its place. A spasm of anger passed swiftly over the hobbit's face again. Suddenly it gave way to the look of a relief and a laugh. Well, that's that. Now I'm off. They went out into the hall. Bilbo chose his favorite stick from the stand, and then he whistled. 3 dwarves came out of different rooms where they had been busy. Is everything ready? Asked Bilbo. Everything packed and labeled? Everything, they answered. Well, let's start. He stepped out the front door. It was a fine night, and the black sky was dotted with stars. He looked up, sniffing the air. What fun to be off again, off on the road with dwarves. This is what I have really been longing for years. Goodbye, he said, looking at his old home and bowing to the door. Goodbye, Gandalf. Goodbye for the present, Bilbo. Take care of yourself. You are old enough, and perhaps wise enough. Take care. I don't care. Don't you worry about me. I am so happy now as I have ever been, and that is saying a great deal. But the time has come. I am being swept off my feet at last, he added. Then in a low voice, as if to himself, he sang softly in the dark. The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can, pursuing it with eager feet, until it joins some larger way, where many paths and errands meet, and whither them, oh, I cannot say. He paused, silent for a moment. Then, without another word, he turned away from the lights and voices in the fields and tents, and followed by his 3 companions, went around into his garden and trotted down the long, sloping path. He jumped over a low place in the hedge at the bottom, and took to the meadows, passing to the night like a rustle of wind in the grass. Gandalf remained for a while, staring after him into the darkness. Goodbye, my dear Bilbo, until our next meeting, he said softly and went back inside. Frodo came in soon afterwards and found him sitting in the dark, deep in thought. Has he gone? He asked. Yes, answered Gandalf. He has gone at last. I had hoped until this evening that was only a joke, but I knew in my heart that he really meant to go. He always used to joke about serious things. I wish I'd come back sooner, just to see him off. I think really he preferred slipping off quietly in the end, said Gandalf. Don't be too troubled. He'll be all right. Now, he left a packet for you. There it is. Frodo took the envelope from the mantelpiece and glanced at it, but did not open it. You'll find his will and all other documents in there, I think. You're the master of Bag End now, and also, I fancy, you'll find a golden ring. The ring? Exclaimed Frodo. Has he left me that? I wonder why. Still, it may be useful. It may, and it may not. I should not make use of it if I were you, but keep it secret and keep it safe. Now, I am going to bed. As master of Bag End, Frodo felt it is his painful duty to say goodbye to the guests. Rumors of strange events had by now spread all over the field, but Frodo would only say, "No doubt everything will be cleared up in the morning." About midnight, carriages came for the important folk. One by one they rolled away, filled with full but very unsatisfied hobbits. Gardeners came by arrangement and moved in wheelbarrows those who had inadvertently remained behind. Night slowly passed. The sun rose. The hobbits rose later. Morning went on. People came and began, by orders, to clear away the pavilions, and the tables, and the chairs, and the spoons, and knives, and bottles, and plates, and the lanterns, and the flowering shrubs, and the boxes, and the crumbs and crackers, the forgotten bags, and gloves, and handkerchiefs, and the uneaten food, a very small item. A number of other people came, without orders, Bagginses, and Boffins, and Bulgers, and Tooks, and other guests that live or were staying near. By midday, when even the best fed were out and about again, there was a large crowd at Bag End, uninvited, but not unexpected. Frodo was waiting at the step, smiling, but looking rather tired and worried. He welcomed all the callers, but he had not much more to say before. His reply to all inquiries was simply this: Mr. Bilbo Baggins has gone away, as far as I know, for good. Some of the visitors he invited to come inside, as Bilbo had left messages for him. Inside the hall there was a large assortment of packages and parcels and small articles of furniture. On every item there was a label tied. There were several labels of this sort. Oh, goodness. For Adderall took for his very own from Bilbo an umbrella. Adderall had carried off many unlabeled ones. For Dora Baggins, in memory of long correspondence with love from Bilbo, on a large wastepaper basket. Oh, my goodness. That is hilarious. That is some passive aggressive. Dora was Drago's sister and the eldest surviving female relative of Bilbo and Frodo. She was 99 and written reams of good advice for more than half a century. From Milo Burrows, hoping it will be useful, from BB, on a gold pen and ink bottle. Millo never answered letters. Such passive-aggressive gifts, I love it. For Angela's use, from Uncle Bilbo, on a round converse mirror. She was a young Baggins, and too obviously considered her face shapely. For the collection of Hugo Bracegirdle, from a contributor on empty bookcase. Hugo is a great borrower of books, and worse than usual at returning them. For Lobella Sackville Baggins, as a present, on a case of silver spoons. Bilbo believed that she had acquired a good many of his spoons while he was away on his former journey. Lobella knew that quite well, and when she arrived later in the day, she took the point at once, but she also took the spoons. Okay. We're gonna take a small little break here, get a sippy. We got a half hour left in stream. We'll see how far we can get. And then all next week will be ASMR. So I'll probably fit some more readings in there. But taking a little break, I'm here if anyone would like to chat, if anyone's what's going on, how's everyone's evenings. If not, that's totally okay. If you're resting well, I hope you sleep well, I hope you do well. All I ask for everyone who's in here is that you only experience kindness in your life. Okay. Alrighties. Now, let's see. We're gonna pick up here real soon. I want to get a couple more sippies. And I might end stream a little early because I am starting to feel a little sick. I had a COVID vaccine yesterday, and normally I'm okay with vaccines, but this one just really is kicking my butt. Alrighties. Now, okay, so we'll read a little bit more here. I want to at least get 20 pages in. At least. Okay. Alrighties. Getting back into a comfy position. This is only a small selection of the assembled presents. Bilbo's residence had gotten rather cluttered up with things in the course of his long life. There was a tendency of hobbit holes to get cluttered up, for which the custom of giving so many birthday presents was largely responsible. Not, of course, that birthday presents were always new. There were one or two old mathons of forgotten uses that had circulated all around the district, but Bilbo had usually given new presents and kept those that he received. The old hole was now being cleared a little. Every one of his various parting gifts had labels written out personally by Bilbo, and several had some point or some joke. But of course, most of the things were given where they would be wanted and welcomed. The power hobbits, and especially those of Bagshot Row, the poorer hobbits, did very well. The power hobbits. Old Gaffer Gamgee got 2 sacks of potatoes and a new spade, a woolen waistcoat, and a bottle of ointment for creaking joints. Old Rory Brandybuck, in return for much hospitality, got a dozen bottles of old Wineyards, a strong red wine from South Farthing, and now quite mature, as had been laid down by Bilbo's father. Rory quite forgave Bilbo, and wrote him a capital fellow after the first bottle. There's plenty of everything left for Frodo, and of course, all the chief treasures, as well as books, pictures, and more than enough furniture, were left in his possession. There was, however, no sign nor mention of money or jewelry. Not a penny piece or a glass bead was given away. Frodo had a very trying time that afternoon. A false rumor that he had the whole household was being distributed free spread like wildfire. Before long, the place was packed with people who had no business there, but could not be kept out. Labels got turned off and mixed, and quarrels broke out. Some people tried to do swaps and deals in the halls, and others tried to make off with minor items not addressed to them, or with anything that seemed unwanted or unwatched. The road to the gate was blocked with barrows and handcarts. In the middle of the commotion, the Saxville Bagginses arrived. Frodo had retired for a while and left his friend Merry Brandybuck to keep an eye on things. When Otho loudly demanded to see Frodo, Merry bowed politely. He is indisposed. He is resting. Hiding, you mean, said little Bella. Anyway, we want to see him, and we mean to see him. Just go and tell him so. Mary left them a long while in the hall, and they had time to discover the parting gifts of spoons. It did not improve their tempers. Eventually, they were shown into the study. Frodo was sitting at a table with a lot of papers in front of him. He looked indisposed. To see Saxville Bagginses at any rate, and he stood up fidgeting with something in his pocket, but he spoke quite politely. The Saxville Bagginses were rather offensive. They began by offering him hard bargain prices, as between friends, for various valuable and unlabeled things. When Frodo replied that only the things specifically directed by Bilbo were being given away, they said the whole affair was very fishy. Only one thing is clear to me, said Otho, and that is you are doing exceedingly well out of it. I insist on seeing the will. Otho would have been Bilbo's heir, but for the adoption of Frodo. He read the will carefully and snorted. It was unfortunate, very clear and correct, according to the legal customs of hobbits, which demand other things, 7 signatures of witnesses in red ink. Foiled again, he said to his wife, and after waiting 60 years. Spoons? Fiddlesticks? He snapped his fingers under Frodo's nose and stumped off. But little Bella was not easily gotten rid of. A little later, Frodo came out of the study to see how things were going and found her still about the place, investing nooks and corners and tapping the floors. He escorted her firmly off the premises. After he had relieved her of several small but rather valuable articles that had someone fallen inside her umbrella, her face looked as if she was in the throes of thinking out a really crushing parting remark. But all she found to say, turning around on the step, was, "You'll live to regret it, young fellow. Why don't you go too? You don't belong here. You're no Baggins. You're a Brandybuck." "Did you hear that, Mary? That was an insult, if you like," said Frodo as he shut the door on her. "It was a compliment," said Mary Brandybuck, "and so, of course, not true." Then when they went around the hole, he evicted 3 young hobbits, 2 Boltons and a Bolger. They're knocking holes in the walls of one of the cellars. Frodo had a tussle with young Sancho Proudfoot, old Odo Proudfoot's grandson, who had begun an excavation in the larger pantry, where he thought there was an echo. The legend of Bilbo's gold excited both curiosity and hope, for legendary gold, mysteriously obtained, if not possibly gotten, is, as everyone knows, anyone's for the finding, unless the search is interrupted. When he had overcome Sancho and pushed him out, Frodo collapsed on a chair in the hall. It's time to close the shop, Mary, he said. Lock the door and don't open it. Oops, excuse me. And don't open it to anyone today, not even if they bring a battering ram. Then he went to revive himself with a belated cup of tea. He had hardly sat down when there came a soft knock at the front door. Oops, I need to get another sippy. That's okay, Mousy. With ASMR streams, a lot of times people don't talk, and it's a lot of just people listening, and that's what I like about it. It's a way to just kind of chill and cool down. I hope one day to get the proper equipment. Um, I really do, to like do proper ASMR streams, because I have some ideas and I have some things I want to try. Which, I'm not comfortable about this. I'm just going to throw this out there. If you want to help with that stuff, it is on my throne. My throne's down there, but like, I don't expect it. I want to be super, super clear. Alright, take care of yourself first. I'm in a good spot in my life, for the most part. I don't feel comfortable. Yeah. Anyways, sorry. But I do want to get the proper equipment to do ASMR streams. And I want to really try, because, one of the things I've noticed, at least on Twitch, is a lot of the ASMR artists tend to be female. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I think there's a big market for male ASMR artists who know what they're doing and can really do it well. And I'm hoping by the time I get to that point, I'll be that. So, but we'll pick back up. I had my sippy. He went on with his tea. The knock was repeated, much louder, but he took no notice. Suddenly, the wizard's head appeared at the window. If you don't let me in, Frodo, I shall blow your door right down your hole and out through the hall. My dear Gandalf, half a minute, cried Frodo, running out of the room to the door. Come in, come in. I thought it was old Bella. Then I forgive you, but I saw her some time ago, driving a pony trap towards Bywater with a face that would have curdled new milk. She had nearly curdled me. Honestly, I nearly tried on Bilbo's ring. I longed to disappear. Don't do that, said Gandalf, sitting down. Do be careful of that ring, Frodo. In fact, it's partly about that I've come to say a last word. Well, what about it? What do you know already? Only what Frodo told me. I have heard his story, how he found it, how he used it, on his journey, I mean. Which story, I wonder, said Gandalf. Oh, not what he told the dwarves and put in his book, said Frodo. He told me the true story soon after I came to live here. He said you had pestered him till he told you. I had better know too. No secrets between us, Frodo, he said. But they are not going to go any further. It's mine anyway. That's interesting, said Gandalf. Well, what did you think of it all? If you mean inventing all that about a present, well, I thought the true story much more likely, and I couldn't see the point of altering it at all. It is very unlikely be able to do so anyways. I thought it rather odd. So did I. But odd things may happen to people that have such treasures, if they use them. Let it be a warning to you and your... Let it be a warning to you to be very careful with it. It may have other powers than just making you vanish when you wish to. I don't understand, said Frodo. Neither do I, answered the wizard. I've merely began to wonder about the ring, especially since last night. No need to worry, but if you take my advice, you'll use it very seldom or not at all. I at least beg you not to use it in any way that will cause talk or rouse suspicion. I say it again. Keep it safe. Keep it secret. You are very mysterious. What are you afraid of? I am not certain, so I will say no more. I may be able to tell you something when I come back. I'm going off at once. So this is goodbye for the present. He got up. At once, cried Frodo. Why, I thought you were staying for at least a week. I was looking forward to your help. I did mean to, but I have had to change my mind. I may be gone away for a good while, but I come and see you again as soon as I can. Expect me when you see me. I shall slip in quietly. I shan't often be visiting the Shire openly again. I find that I've become rather unpopular. They say I'm a nuisance and disturber of the peace. Some people are actually accusing me of spiriting Bilbo away, or worse. If you want to know, there's supposed to be a plot between you and me to get a hold of his wealth. Some people, exclaimed Frodo. You mean Ortho and Lubella? How abominable. I would give them Bag End and everything else if I get Bilbo back and go off trampling in the country with him. I love the Shire, but I begin to wish, somehow, that I had gone too. I wonder if I shall ever see him again. So do I, said Gandalf, and I wonder many other things. Goodbye now. Take care of yourself. Look out for me, especially at unlikely times. Goodbye. Frodo saw him to the door. He gave a final wave of his hand and walked off at a surprising pace. But Frodo thought the old wizard looked unusually bent, almost as if he was carrying a great weight. The evening was closing in, and his cloaked figure quickly vanished into the twilight. Frodo did not see him again for a long time. So, I'm actually... right? So many good lines. So I'm actually going to bring stream to an end a little early. Okay? Because I think that's a good stopping point. The next is chapter 2. Alright, and I know that we won't get through chapter 2 before in 10 minutes. That's when stream's supposed to end. So, yep. So next Thursday, and there might be some more sessions. I have to plan out my schedule, but next Thursday for sure, we'll be doing some more reading of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, in the great tradition of my drama professor back when I was in college. He would always read all the Lord of the Rings, like every single book, during the whole month of December. So, kind of following that, we're going to try to read the entirety of the Fellowship of the Ring for this December. And next December, we'll do the second one, The Two Towers. Regardless, thank you all for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Time is the one thing that you can never get back. You can get back money, you can get back goods, items. You can always make more friends. But once our time is up, it is up. So the fact that you choose to spend your time here in our little library, listening to this archsage mumble and mule his way through different things is such a huge compliment, and I cannot tell you how much I sincerely appreciate it. So, as we get ready to end stream here, I'm going to go find someone to raid. We did Violet yesterday. Ooh. Yeah, I'm glad. Let's see. Aha! Good. Alright, so we're gonna go say hi to Sun. I still gotta work out a raid message. I do see what you did there, Mousy. Um, so all my links are below. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all of that stuff. No matter when you're watching this, where you're watching it, I thank you. I want to encourage you to be kind. And what do I mean by that? What is being kind? Because that can be very, very interesting. It's kindness can get mixed up with niceness. Nice is transactional. Kind is about how you want the world to be. Be kind, not nice. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be kind to the world. Go out there and think of the world that you want to create. Think of how you want the world to be, with no expectations. Again, thank you. I wish you all the best. We'll be back tomorrow.